In the early part of the 90s, us Star Wars and toy fans were begging for new Star Wars figures. We couldn't wait for someone to pick the license up again. In 1994, we started hearing rumors that Kenner, now under Hasbro, was about to release Star Wars action figures back to the market. Around this time, Star Wars was slowly making a comeback. Galoob had had success with the Star Wars Micro Collection, and Just Toys released Star Wars Bend-Ems. Also at the bookstores, we had a bestseller, Heir to the Empire, and selling well in the comic book stores was Dark Empire. And George Lucas wanted to test the waters on Star Wars to see if the fan base was still there so he could start work on the Star Wars prequels. In early 1995, Hasbro finally showed off the Star Wars figures at that year's Toy Fair, and the buzz on the internet was great. I know by today's standards people make fun of these figures, call them big and bulky. But at the time, in 1995, it was hard to find anybody really criticizing them. We didn't really care. Star Wars was back. And Series 1, to be released in the summer of 1995, would be 9 figures. Although 8 would only be photoed on the back. Princess Leia would be released in Series 1, but ship a little later. Also shipping a little later was 3PO. This made the two figures hard to find. For one, 3PO was on the back of the card before he hit stores. So when people saw him on the back of the package, they assumed he was just sold out everywhere. And Princess Leia, some didn't even know she was being made because she wasn't on the back of the card. That made demand for her very high on the secondary market. But not only were we getting new action figures in 1995, we were getting ships. Some of us was concerned back then when we found out the molds from the original Kenner Star Wars vehicles would be reused. Unlike the action figures, they would have a whole new mold. But these figures wasn't exactly just remakes of the old ones, as the electronics inside had been gutted and made better sounds, and it had a more detailed paint job. The new figures were wider, what made them hard to fit into the ships that were molded for the Kenner Star Wars figures of the 80s. But let's take a look at the figures that we did get. We'll start off with the bad guys since there's only 2 of them. First up, Stormtrooper. Like the other figures, he's pretty bulky. Hey, but at least his head turns. That's something we didn't get back in the original run. And also released was Darth Vader with his red lightsaber. A very nice looking Darth Vader. Over on the hero side, we had Han Solo. As you can see right there wearing his vest, he comes with more than one gun. I don't remember that in the movie. And then the hero of the film, Luke Skywalker. He comes with 2 weapons also, one of them being a lightsaber. There was also a Wookiee in the line named Chewbacca. Here he is with his crossbow. And then there was the old wizard himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm surprised Hasbro didn't release a gun with him, but he does come with a lightsaber. As for the droids, there were of course R2-D2, and finally we got an official release with a 3rd leg. I know there was one in the droid factory you had to build yourself, but it's not an official Star Wars action figure. And the other droid was C-3PO. The 2 droids, 3PO and R2, are very well done. And probably the worst of the line is Princess Leia, who quickly got the nickname Monkey Face Leia. Let's be honest, it looks like a man in drag. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know it does. It looks like a man in drag. An ugly man in drag. As for the ships, we got a TIE Fighter. Although we didn't have a TIE Fighter pilot, we had a Stormtrooper to put inside. We had Luke's X-Wing. Although there was no Luke Skywalker pilot, we could use Luke Skywalker. You would have to squeeze his legs together pretty tightly and shove him in. We also got a Land Speeder. And trying to get Obi-Wan in this thing was almost impossible unless you removed his big thick cloak. And the last in the vehicles was the Millennium Falcon. The retail price for that was $40. Basically the same mold as the original with new paint job and better sounds. It already bothered me that some of the plastic didn't match. The plastic of the cockpit didn't match the rest of the color of the ship. It just really threw me off. But for the most part, most of us was very excited to walk into a toy store in 1995 and see Star Wars action figures. Something we haven't done in almost 10 years. Now we're just looking at Series 1. Series 2 was also released in 1995, and maybe we'll get around to looking at it one day, but I kind of just wanted to look back at the re-release of Star Wars action figures when Star Wars toys, or action figures at least, came back to the toy stores. Let me know in the comments below your memories of finding Star Wars in 1995.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.